the approach that I've been using to help us understand Jewish history, and we're going to focus in on the period of Chanukkah in particular. Okay? So, what do we mean by 1737? Some of you know, right? But for those that don't, let's do a little thought experiment. Okay, we're going to be speaking about our evolution as we grow through our ages, our childhood, our teenage, emerging adulthood years, our mature years. And we're going to be asking a specific question, okay? It's about making decisions and responsibility and taking achrayus. So the question is, at 7 years old, now when I say 7, I mean from 0 to about, 13, 14, 15, like what we call the childhood years, okay? How old are you?
I just turned 15 today.
Oh, so you're just that
Okay.
Everything we're talking about. So I'm gonna ask you a question. In these childhood years, up till now, not so much now. Now you're shifting into like what we call emerging adulthood. What percentage of decisions, okay, in your youthful years, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, what percentage of decisions do you get to make entirely by yourself, and what percentage does your mom or your whoever make for you?
I think I made most.
No, like back when you were a little kid.
Yeah, when I was a kid, probably like my mom made most of the decisions and I followed what she said.
So what would you say in percentages?
95 and 5.
That's what most people say. 95 and 5. And the 5% of decisions that we make as a 7-year-old, okay, is like, what should I eat from what my mother already went shopping and brought into the house? And what should I wear from what my mother already bought and put in my closet? And the only real decision that you actually get to make when you're 7 years old is the one big decision that you're free to make, even though it doesn't get you very far, is what? Say no. Lay down, have a temper tantrum, and say no. Generally, it doesn't, doesn't get you too far. Okay. Maybe your mother will give in, but generally, it is what it is. Because at 7 years old, we are absolutely living within someone else's environment, somebody else's rules, somebody else's way of doing everything. We are recipients of their chinuch, of their instructions, of their expectations for us. We are told that we have to conform or obey or be, try to live up to what they want. Otherwise, things won't be so great for us. And that's how it goes when you're 7 years old. Now, what happens when you turn 17? Okay, what changes in that proportion of that percentage from 95.5? What does it become at 17 years old? 17, 18, 19? What do you think? She doesn't know yet. Let's
Now we tell her again. How much choice does Joey have, and how much choice do what is he have?
You
to-
have the 5%.
I have exactly.
Well,
in
so it's not 5, 9, 7, 95, but generally at those years, if people say it's 70-30, a 50-50, it's some sort of much more balanced. Now, how does it go? It basically divides up like this. To the extent that the child has internalized the values. Now we're talking about in a good situation, right? Torah values have been conveyed, Torah ideas, standards. To the extent that the child has internalized those values, the parent lets them have a free pass, make their own decisions, except the parent always retains, a good parent always retains veto power. Like if the child says, I'm gonna backpack around Cambodia with this friend I met on the internet, okay? Then the parent, of course, says no. So the parent has veto power. Generally, if the child's going to do something stupid or dangerous that could ruin their life, and that's how it's supposed to be. And the child feels very secure that they're sort of given a lot of freedom to make a lot of their own decisions. But someone, the parent has their back and is going to guide them and not allow them to veer off into a place that they would deeply regret. Okay, and if a parent doesn't do that and doesn't protect the child, there is something wrong. Okay. What happens when we're 37, 47, 57, 60, well, we'll get to 57, 67, 77, but now we're 27, 37, what's going on? How much percentage of the child's decisions are now being made by the parents? Zero. Now, why is that the case? I'm gonna ask you a few questions. Does the parent hate them? Has the parent abandoned them? Does the parent consider them a hopeless cause and therefore what's the point? So why isn't the parent making their decisions? trust them to make
Adult
correct decisions.
relationship.
Because the child is an adult, and they're entitled to make their own decisions, and it's not the parent's place to come in and make decisions. When would the parent be a participant in a decision that the child makes?
When the child
When the
asks.
child asks.
Exactly. When the child requests it and says, I want your advice. And what happens at 67? Who's making decisions for who?
The children are making decisions.
Generally, the children are making decisions for the well-being of the parents. Okay. So now, what we just did is we just did all Jewish history. We are, in Jewish history, there's really 2 tkufas, but we're going to divide it into 4, just for clarity. The first tkufa, childhood. You're in your parents' house. Everything you need is taken care of. You're being given very clear instructions, black and white, right? Black and white instructions, very clear, no confusion, in there, even harsh language. This is right, this is wrong. This is what happens if you do right, this is what happens if you do wrong. I'm going to show you exactly what's right and wrong. I'm going to be on your case. I'm not going to let you just do whatever you want. This entire tkufa of childhood for Am Yisrael was when?
And when we had
Trying to get
Nebuah.
into
Till when?
Destruction of the temple.
Exactly. This is the first 1,000 years of Jewish history. It's called the Chinuch years. All the 24 Sefer Tanakh are written in these years, and that's why there's such clear black and white language and harsh language and very, non-confusing language about what's right and wrong.
From when to when?
So this is the first 1,000 years from Yetzias Mitzrayim till Golus Churban Bayis Rishon. Okay, Hanukkah is after that, so we're gonna get there. So this is our childhood: Nisim, Nevuah, very firm messages by the Nevi'im that are black and white. Hashem talking in clear terminology, and no confusion there. And Nisim and Nevuah and Eretz Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu and everything. That's our childhood. Those are our chinuch years. I have a question for you. Does a parent want their child to remain in their home in that stage forever?
No.
Of course not. The whole point is it's just a preparatory phase. Same thing with Jewish history, and we're going to understand that these years are not the glory years, believe it or not. Next comes a very short phase, 17, to maybe early 20s. This is the middle phase. It's really the beginning of adulthood. It's the beginning of the child experiencing their own responsibility, but there's clear, like we said, the parent has our back and makes it very clear, okay? This is a very short phase. It's a transitional phase. We call it emerging adulthood. This phase in Jewish history was very short. How long was it? And when was it? This was the second Beis Hamikdash. That's it. 400 years, Hanukkah's here. Okay, we'll talk about Purim in a minute. This Hanukkah, short period. This is the period. You're back in Israel, so you're still here in mommy and daddy's house, but there's no more Nisim, open Nisim, there's no more Nevuah, Beis Hamikdash doesn't have an Aron, there's no Urim Tumim, there's nothing, but you're getting a chance now, this is exactly what Hanukkah is, to demonstrate that you have internalized the values of the first 1,000 years. How do you demonstrate it? By knowing that that's who you are, that life isn't worth living without it, and that you fight for it, you sacrifice it. No guarantees you'll make it, you'll survive. And but the Maccabees took losses. People died. Some of the Maccabees died, right? So, but you do it because this is who I am, and you demonstrate that you've deeply internalized the lessons of the childhood, and then Hashem has our back. The war, we win the war, which is what Al Hanisim is all about. And there's even the miracle in the Beis Hamikdash, in the menorah that 2 Kohanim saw or whatever, and they eventually told everyone that Hashem showed a nace, an open nace from like the childhood years, in the transition years. Hashem saying, I got your back. I'm here. Okay, don't ever forget that I'm here with you. And this experience of Hanukkah gave Am Yisrael forever the courage to understand that although we're going into a period in which we're going to learn God is going to be silent like a good parent, it's not because abandonment, hatred, or we're a lost cause. It's because we're adults. We proved it. And Hashem can rely on us. And shtika kahodah, when you see something and you're quiet, it means you agree with it. You're good. You send it, it's fine. I don't need a comment because everything's, I don't need to add anything. It's the way it is. Shtika kahodah is halachic principle. Silence is, you agree. You're good to go. You're good with it. And Hashem goes silent. Hashem doesn't, no more nisim, no more nevuah, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees we can handle it. The next tkufa, emerging adulthood. What tkufa is that? I mean, the tkufa of adulthood. This is a long 2,000-year golus that we are still in adulthood. By the way, Mashiach, that's 67. Okay, that's when we here as Am Yisrael, after coming through this process, take full responsibility for Hashem's, so to speak, reputation in the world. We have a whole course. I have a
Is
whole
that like
class.
was the thing with God, your God's mother?
Yes, we have a whole class called Who is Hashem's Mother. It's called Leah Rachel Leah, which is a deep insight from the Vilna Gaon, but it's about this subject. We flesh it out over the hour, and we are referred to actually as the Mother of Hashem. There's a Medrash in Shir Hashirim about the 3 tkufas in Jewish history. The first one we're called a daughter of Hashem, childhood. The second we're called a sister or a wife. That's the partnership. That's the golus. And then finally we're called the mother of Hashem, where we take achrayus, responsibility for God's recognition in the world for humanity to appreciate and recognize Hashem. Now we're going to use this, what we just learned, to help us understand the mitzvah of Chanukkah, which is lahodus lahalo. So far we good with this idea. Everyone got it? Makes sense? Okay.